Even though this may seem a little bit intimidating at first, it's actually pretty straightforward. So what we'll generally do here is we'll start with what's easy. So we notice this third equation here, the quantity supplied and quantity demanded have to be the same. Well, maybe as a first step it makes sense to just plug in for those two quantities. So then we can say, using this equation, that negative 5,000 plus 10,000 times the producer's price has to equal 50,000 minus 12,000 times the price to the consumer. Okay, so we've made some progress. Notice here, however, that we still have, now we have one equation and two unknowns. So we can say, well, what information haven't we used yet? Because we've used this, and we've used this. Well, this fourth equation is the only thing we have left over. So what we can do here, we notice if we plug in for P sub C, we get everything in terms of the producer's price, and then we can solve. Oh, well, that seems pretty straightforward. Let's do that. So this simplifies to negative 5,000 plus 10,000 times the price to the producer is equal to 50,000 minus 12,000 times, now we just plug in where we see this P sub C, we just plug in what's on the other side of our equation. So here we get P sub P plus 0.5. Okay. So we can multiply this out. We say, well, this is equal to 50,000 minus 12,000 times the price to the producer, minus, don't forget to distribute your negative, 12,000 times 1/2, which is 6,000. This simplifies to 44,000 minus 12,000 times the producer's price. Notice that this is exactly what we got when we put a tax on consumers and we shifted the demand curve. So you can see how this is all fitting together, but this approach overall is generally a little bit more simple than what we did before. So if we bring this down, we now have one equation and one unknown. And now we just need to solve. So we can put all of the prices on one side. 10,000 plus 12,000 is 22,000. And we can put all the numbers on the other side. So 44,000 plus 5,000 is 49,000. And we in fact get that the equilibrium price to the producer is equal to 49,000 over 22,000, which is just 49 over 22. And in decimals, because it's a little bit easier to think about the decimals here to get some intuition, get some idea of how big this price is, in decimals this is approximately equal to $2.23. We can then say, well, we know that the price to the consumer in equilibrium has to be the price to the producer plus 1/2. So we could say the P sub C star is just 49 over 22 plus 1/2. So this is just 49 over 22 plus 11 over 22. So we get 60 over 22 or 30 over 11. Again, in decimal, this comes out to approximately $2.73, which is not surprising because it's 50 cents more than the price to the producer. The last thing then to do is to substitute in to get the equilibrium quantity. And it doesn't matter which one you substitute in, because the whole idea was that quantity supplied and quantity demanded have to be the same. So if we were to substitute in, and maybe this one's a little bit easier to substitute into, right? We can say that our equilibrium quantity with our tax is just equal to negative 5,000 plus 10,000 times, well, we said which one's the relevant price. That's the price to the producer here. So it's times 49 over 22. And we can do this calculation out, and we see that this approximately comes out to 17,273. And you'll see that this outcome here is exactly what we saw in both cases when we put a tax on producers and a tax on consumers. As a final point, we can circle back and show once again where these different quantities go on our graph. So here we said this was the original equilibrium quantity before the tax was put in place, and we said that that was just 20,000. So you can say this is 20,000 here. This is just our equilibrium quantity after the tax, which we said is approximately 17,273. So that can go here. Our original equilibrium price before the tax was put in place was $2.50, so that goes here. After the tax, our price to the consumer was approximately $2.73, so we can put that here. And lastly, the price to the producer after the tax is put in place is $2.23 approximately. It's sometimes helpful to circle back and actually label the quantities with the results of your calculations so that you can do a bit of a sanity check to make sure that the calculations that you did and the results that you got actually make sense. In this case, they clearly make sense because, one, the quantity transacted with the tax is lower than the original quantity. Two, the price to the consumer inclusive of the tax is higher than the original equilibrium price. And we say that the tax incidence for the consumer is the difference between these two prices. So in this case, the tax incidence to the consumer would be 23 cents. We can see that the price to the producer, the price that the producer gets to keep, is lower than the original equilibrium price, which makes sense graphically. And we can say that the tax incidence on the producer is the difference between these two prices here, or $2.50 minus $2.23, which is equal to 27 cents. So now you see how everything fits together, and we're going to come back next time and conclude with a discussion on some general points about taxes.